What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. We're live on a Monday morning. Shout out to our diehards, our 8 a.m. Mad Chatters. Join us every Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Good morning, K-Red. Good morning, Michael Haynes. Good morning, everybody. As when we left here on Friday, I don't think anybody was expecting to be swept by the Milwaukee Brewers. Philly with John Marks, sponsored, as always, by BetParx. And we'll give you our BetParx Parlay of the day coming up a little bit later in the show. Before I fire everybody and demand for changes immediately, let's tell you about our Diehard sale that we have going on right now. We talked a little bit about it last week. If you haven't gotten the opportunity, it's going to go away soon. Right now, $36 is our flash sale that's going on right now. You're getting over 50% off on 1 year of the Diehard access. All right, it's good for a little bit longer, right? 20% off events, 20% off merchandise, and you're getting exclusive content and access to the Discord channel, which is for diehards, which is for insiders that want to speak to all the different shows, right? So you can actually get in almost like a chat room with them. So right now, $36 for the first year. Allphly.com/intro. Allphly.com/intro. You can get the latest on the Phillies with Jim Salisbury, who has something up I was reading this morning on allphly.com before coming in. So I'm going to be like a spaz. We'll bring on Tyler coming up in a second, but I'm going to be like a spaz with a couple different things that happened over the weekend. And it may not come in any particular order. First of all, I saw a lot yesterday from some people, even some, I won't call them like, not the Todd Zaleckis, but a couple of the guys that cover the Phillies for the blogs. And I consider them reporters, right? They follow the team. They do everything. But the idea that, remember, Bryce Harper was out. I don't care if Bryce Harper didn't play this series. It has nothing to do with anything. Bryce Harper wasn't the difference maker in getting swept by the Brewers or not getting swept by the Brewers. So cut that crap out. Bryce Harper's going to return on Tuesday. Thank God that he doesn't have a busted elbow or it's not more serious. And by the way, I'm glad that they didn't try to rush him back. And hopefully on Tuesday, it's not going to be rushing him back either, right? So I don't care if Bryce Harper didn't play. 1 inning, 1 at bat, whatever. That's not an excuse for getting swept by the Brewers. You know what it's an excuse for getting swept by the Brewers? Welcome to baseball. 162 games. Man, not for the faint of heart. If you treat this like football in the NFL, it's going to kill you. And believe me, I do this. But now that I'm here on a Monday and I'm saying like, hey, obviously I'm not happy. Obviously the team needs to make some moves and they've made some moves, but I'm not firing Rob Thompson. I'm not trading everything in the farm system because Rhys Hoskins had a couple of home runs. Right now, the Phillies are still a playoff team. The Phillies will still be a team that when it's all said and done will be in the mix in the National League to see who goes to the World Series. And you know what? It's June 2nd. So by October and the end of September, we may not be feeling confident in them. We may be feeling confident in them. But I'm not using Bryce Harper as an excuse. But still, that was a really, really tough series to watch. Really tough series. Because yesterday you said, all right, got Ranger on the mound. You come up, you take a lead, and now you're worried about the bullpen holding the lead, but still, you feel good. You got the early lead. We've seen the Phillies in a lot of these baseball teams in general. You win the first 2 games on the road. That third game, you get an early deficit, and you kind of like, all right, we're going to lose this one. Ruiz is pitching great, or Ranger's pitching great. Sorry, I have a ton of mucus and how do like the TV guys do this? The Good Morning Footballs and all these guys, when they have to talk forever and they have heavy mucus build up in their throat and their nose, how do they do it? Anyway, so it was a difficult series to watch. Yesterday, Trey Turner, how many errors does he have now? I was just reading it this morning. How many errors does he have now since he joined the Phillies? Is it serious, like 33 or something? Are you kidding me? And in what a spot. 45 errors since joining the Phillies in 2023. And it was in a spot, double play, gets you out of the inning. Instead, he boots it, run scores. That's Weston Wilson misplayed a ball in left field. Not known for his glove, Weston Wilson. And that's it. That was it. And then the ball and it started rolling from there and rolling from there. The offense was pretty much non-existent, other than the ninth inning in the game that they lost on Saturday. But it sucked. And Trey Turner has done really well at the plate this year, but I can't take it. I can't take those type of errors. I don't know if that's fair or unfair. It just seems like that he shouldn't be playing shortstop. He makes way too many errors. And does he make highlight reel plays? I mean, not really. He'll make some nice plays here and there, but I'm sick of it. Rob Thompson. So Jesus Luzardo gives up. And it's almost impossible. He was getting the Cy Young vote to, holy crap, what the hell just happened? Right? He gave up, and this hasn't been done since 1939. The first Phillies pitcher to allow 12 or more earned runs in a game since Al Jurisic in 1947. Before that, it was Boom Boom Beck, who I can't believe he gave up that many runs. I was a big Boom Boom Beck fan back in the day. But you get my drift. What the hell was that? Why was he left in the game for so long? And Rob Thompson gets tossed. But so Luzardo gets called for a balk. And all right, I don't want to go too into the weeds on the balk, but was it like Ruben was saying it wasn't a balk? I think it was if you saw it, I think it was the hesitation. It wasn't that he was going towards home plate. It was the hesitation. And the third base ump called him for a balk, and that's what pissed Rob Thompson off, because it's like, let the first base umpire make that call. It's his call. Why is the third base ump making that call? And he's right with it. But if you're watching and you can see the mannerisms and you see how it worked, he asked the umpire to be thrown out of the game. And then the ump threw him out of the game, and then he just kind of left. Right? He's just like, all right. Then he was like, this is BS. And then he walked off the field. Hey, Rob, don't get thrown out. If you're going to be asked to thrown out, don't get thrown out. I know you're not Larry Boa, and you're not going to need to get held back by your bench coach or your base coach or a player. I get all that. Right? But you can't ask the umpire like that to throw you out. And then he says, okay. And he throws you out. Because nothing that he did before that would have made you throw him out at all. So you got to get your money's worth if you're going to get thrown out. Believe me, I can work myself up into a lather. If for nothing else other than the call wasn't made by the right umpire, I would have went nuts. I'm not bumping him or anything like that, but I would have got my money's worth, and I would have said, listen, it's okay to tell the ump to throw you out because he knows what you're doing. But you can't just sit there not arguing and then say, you have to throw me out, and he throws him out. Tyler Zilli's with us. He does the pregame, the postgame, PHLY Phillies live show today. I know you agree because you said the first thing to me where it's like, yeah, Rob Thompson, he has to be thrown out of the game.
Yeah,
and he did.
Sure. I equate Rob Thompson, the way that he operates his job, the way that I operate my job, and neither of us are overly dramatic or overly hot-headed. And so if you're going to, try to get rung up, or in my case, if I'm going to come in spitting fire on a show, it needs to be something worth convincing, right? So I've always said, if I come in and I start doing a Philly show on a Monday and I'm screaming and I'm spitting bullets, that I'm pissed off because of something that happened, because it's just not how I operate my job. I think Rob Thompson's in a similar facet where he is the type of guy who doesn't scream a lot. He's a player's manager. He's a guy that's got his guys back. He's even keel. So when he goes out to go get ejected, and we all knew what he was doing, this game was getting out of hand. It was an ugly game from the start. I think he was trying to send a message to his guys like, we're still fighting. We're still in this. When you go out and do that, you're right. I think you go get your money's worth. You scream in somebody's face. You do the whole point at him, point at the mound, point at the other umpire.
Yeah.
You got to be. I don't mean to say be fake, but be animated in it. It was an interesting hill to die on for Rob Thompson, because first and foremost, it was a balk. The hesitation was there. The step over was there. It was a balk. Don't get me wrong. I get the point of being angry about the third base ump calling it versus the first base ump calling it with a lefty on the mound. But it was an interesting hill to die on. And then, if you're going to do it, you got to go full, Mel Gibson in Patriot. You got to come running over the hill with the flag.
Well, you got, even if you don't start out, you got to sell it a little bit more.
Right.
Just bottom line, you got to sell it a little more. Like, go nuts. Believe me, you're getting beat that. Like, I would have just said, like, why is this a-hole calling a balk? That's not his call. And I know that's what he was saying, because
Sure.
the crew chief was kind of being like, all right, believe me, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But at that point, there's no replay to look at. You can't reverse the call and ask the first baseman. It's done with. But anyway, so obviously, Tyler, there's a lot going on. And in this portion of the show, brought to you by GLAT Hair Restoration, GLATHairMM.com, 610-980-4000. You can text them. You sent this note to me, and someone in the chat said that Trey Turner's errors aren't, when you're looking at the problems with the Phillies, Trey Turner's errors aren't number 1 or 2 on the list. Agreed. But his 45 errors since 2023, the start of 2023, are the second most in baseball. Elly De La Cruz has more. And Elly De La Cruz is a young, super athletic. Like, you expect those kind of errors from a young player that's trying to rein everything in. Trey Turner, that's not him, man. Like, so to me, it's so frustrating. I saw Fit Dad CEO said that his defensive stuff outweighs any offensive things that he does. And I act like that. I don't think that's necessarily fair. But I feel the same way, that it's like he drives me nuts in the field. I'm so sick of seeing him at shortstop.
Well, and I think the problem is the automatic thought is you flip P and Stott and you move Turner to second. And I think the problem with that is you get better at short. No, I think Bryson Stott at this point of his career would be a much better defensive shortstop than Trey Turner. But I think you have a bad defensive shortstop right now and an elite defensive second baseman. If you flip the two, I think you have a bad defensive second baseman and a good defensive shortstop. I think if you're pairing the two together and you're looking for an average score, the average score would go down if you flip the two and Bryson Stott goes to second, even though the fact that, yes, it's certainly true. I think at this point, Bryson Stott would be a better defensive shortstop than Trey Turner, but he's such an elite defensive second baseman. That's where the argument starts to come in.
Yep. No, you're right. Yeah, you're damaging two positions for sure. So the Phillies make some moves here. And by the way, in yesterday's game, there was a lot made of Weston Wilson. He could have been pitch hit for Kepler an inning earlier. They left him in the game. When you have a lead like that, you bring in the better defender, which Kepler clearly is. I don't know. Weston Wilson doesn't get to play a whole heck of a lot, and Rob probably wanted to leave him out there. And it's not like it was the 8th inning or whatever. But I mean, I think Rob talked about it after the game and questioned it, because, yeah, I would too. It's a move that he could have made, and it's a move that could have totally changed the complexion of the game. All right, so 2-4 homestand. Phillies have now lost 4 in a row. Man, the ebbs and the flows of a season absolutely can drive you nuts. And right now you're in one of these your nuts are getting driven right now. After the game, Jose Ruiz, designated for assignment reliever, who came in after Luzardo, gave up 5 runs. He has not been good this year. He was pretty good last year. Has not been good this year. I don't know if anybody's going to pick him up. He probably goes to AAA. Seth Johnson called up from AAA. If you remember, he was one of the prospects acquired in was it Soto? Was it Soto or was it, I don't remember which trade it was with the Orioles last year. I think it was the Soto trade.
Soto Dominguez trade, right?
So it was, so that wasn't 2 separate trades. That was together.
I think it was, because whatever it was, the returns were he and Moises Chase,
who now is getting Tommy John, right? Chase, and he's going to be out. Yeah, that sucks. So Seth Johnson comes up from AAA, and it's like, all right, well, this is good. You're bringing up a young, fresh arm from AAA. Here's my problem with it. His ERA,
it was Soto. You were right.
Okay. His ERA is 5.5 since they put him in the bullpen about a month ago. So they're bringing up a reliever who was a starter, and they said, the Phillies clearly said, all right, like, we need some arms that can get some swings and misses. So let's move Seth Johnson to the bullpen, because his track to the majors this year, they're deep at starting pitching. He's not going to be a starting pitcher this year. Let's put him in the bullpen. Well, he has not been good at AAA in the bullpen. So, all right, you're bringing him up. I hope you don't plan on putting him in any high leverage situations. Taijuan Walker, who lost on Friday night, he's going to go to the bullpen. And this was a smart move, because the Phillies clearly have an abundance of starting pitching, and with Abel and the way that he's played and the way that he's pitched in AAA and in the majors, if you need a 6th starter, he should be the guy. Taijuan Walker has to project into figuring out a role in the bullpen, a one-inning role in the bullpen. What is that going to be? Can he come in and be a seventh-inning pitcher? Well, they're going to need him to be that guy right now. He can't be the long reliever unless he sucks so bad that you can't do anything else. So Abel replaces Taijuan Walker in the rotation, and that's exciting. So some moves that have happened and some moves that are coming up. No Phillies game tonight, so I'm going to regroup. And then Toronto starting tomorrow. It's good. So you get a young arm in the bullpen. That's something to look forward to. He's got electric stuff. And they know they have a problem in the bullpen. They know they need to figure it out. Alvarado's loss. Forget about Alvarado, how good he's been for the Phillies. But also now it's pressing other guys that just aren't good enough into roles where they have to pitch real innings. And now Kerkering has to rely on that much more. Now Strahm, who hasn't necessarily been great, he becomes your top lefty that's coming in any type of left-handed role. You know what I mean? So it really, really hurts them. And that's not Dave Dombrowski's fault. That's not the Phillies' fault. That's Alvarado's fault. So, I've seen people say, oh, the Phillies should have known he was on steroids. Come on. Phillies said, what are they going to, even then, if they thought he was on steroids, what are they going to do at that point? All right. So, not a great weekend at all. Not a great weekend. I'm not sounding any alarms or anything like that, but it does go to show you how thin this team can get. And it's so easy if your starting pitching implodes like it did with Luzardo. All right, the offense hasn't necessarily been great. And then you pick up some late runs, some late garbage runs. And then yesterday, just the difference between winning a tight game that you needed to not get swept and losing and getting swept at home by the Brewers is an inning in the seventh inning where you lead 2-0 and Weston Wilson misplays the ball and Trey Turner can get you out of the inning and he doesn't do it. And you get swept. And Tyler said it earlier, and he's right about Rob Thompson. One of the things that I love about Rob, and I think is beneficial to a veteran team, is that he doesn't go nuts. He's been around the game for a long time. Nobody likes losing. But also his demeanor and just his natural way isn't to overreact and isn't to go nuts. Larry Boa, and Larry is probably my all-time favorite Philly through everything. He's like fans, man. He hated losing. And when things got bad, Larry gets mad, man. He's not flipping over clubhouse tables or anything like that. But that really can not only just rub guys the wrong way. Over the course of 162, it gets old after a while. So when Larry took over for Terry Francona, and it was a country club atmosphere in the clubhouse because Terry Francona is a player's manager. He definitely is. But that young team needed their ass kicked a little bit. And Larry came in and got immediate results his first year. Didn't make the playoffs. If it was in today's playoffs situation and the wild cards, they would have made the playoffs. But he got real results. Rob comes in for Joe Girardi. He gets real results as well. I'm wondering, and for me, the biggest piece of the puzzle this year for the Phillies, other than obvious things like the offense or whatever, but with Rob Thompson, is his way of managing still the right way for this team? Is this a team, he's not coddling them, but is he lighting enough of a fire under their butts to where, hey, we need to kick it into gear? They just had an unbelievable month. So you're not going to go nuts. They were the best team in baseball, or the second best team in baseball for a good week there after they were 13-13. And they turned it around. But this is where being the manager of a team, you're not a football coach with X's and O's. You're not a basketball coach with substitutions and calling timeouts and calling plays out of the timeouts where you can make real impact. You have a limited amount of times and chances to make an impact in any particular game if you're a manager. Last night, not pinch hitting Weston Wilson, leaving him in the game. He misplays a ball in left field. Potentially bad move not to make. It's about your clubhouse culture, and if guys like coming in, and if guys are responding to your way of doing things. They immediately responded after Joe Girardi was fired, and they've been a winning team since then. There's also a lot of talent on this team. There's also a lot of payroll on this team. Rob Thompson's on the clock for me for this season. Is he on the hot seat? Remember that conversation prior to the season? Yeah, he should be on the hot seat. Not right now. Not on the hot seat this very minute. But this season should be a hot seat season for him. He doesn't have a long-term contract. He didn't get the extension. The Phillies are more or less telling you, yes, this year could be a ride or die for him. He's not Daryl Morey. I think Daryl Morey has the hottest seat of them all. But yeah, Rob Thompson, listen, this is a good team. They're going to win 90 games. They're going to be in the playoffs. But when they go through stretches like they did, it definitely sucks. All right, we'll come back. More Phillies also. Right on cue, ladies and gentlemen. On Friday, I was saying Bryce Huff has no chance to be traded. Good luck with that. I don't care if he comes to the OTAs or not. And then right after I get off the air, Jeff McClain writes something saying that, no, they told him to stay away and he's not going to be on this team. And then they end up making a trade and they're trading away Bryce Huff. Pretty interesting how he does his magic again. That's all coming up. Philly with John Marks. Don't go anywhere. Back in 2-2. All right, let's talk about my guys. GLAT Hair Restoration. Actually, my girls, because the hair team, like I'm not there. Of course, there could be men, and there have been men on the hair team before. Actually, there are men on the hair team. I qualify that. But the people that I've known over at GLAT Hair Restoration, Lisa, Cheryl, the whole crew, we have almost 15-year relationship. And that's because I went to GLAT Hair Restoration about that many years ago and said, hey, not happy with the hair. What can you do for me? This is what they can do. By the way, I got the Fresh Heat Razor Bar on Friday. You can see it. Shaved the beard down. I look 10 years younger. Hair's looking good. GLAT Hair Restoration. If you're worried about your hair, maybe you're all stages of hair loss, as we say. Whether it's you're almost completely bald, you have real balding problems, moderate. I was somewhere between early stages and moderate. We'll flash the picture up from time to time, my before and after pictures. Yeah, it sucked. Now you look at it, some guys shaved their head. I tried that. I look crazy. I look like a neo-Nazi. So I decided to see what GLAT Hair Restoration can do. And I promise you this, it's not many things in life where you see something, you're like, all right, I'll give this a try. Exceeded expectations, really. My hair looks great. So if you have moderate hair loss, severe hair loss, it's not just about the hair restoration. It's about innovation. GLAT Hair, there's so many different things on the market right now, from vitamin supplementation to PRP to the TED treatment, which I get, to some newer things that are out there right now as well that are really, really exciting for hair loss. You can go to their website, glathairmm.com, glathairmm.com, or call their office or text their office. You can speak to their hair team. 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000, glathairmm.com. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about BetParx. And I am going to, and you can't blame me for the sweep this weekend, because I had said they're doing too well. I'm not going to start betting them. I didn't bet them. Don't blame me for them getting sweep. So listen. So we have beginning a night off tonight. So regroup. That doesn't mean you can't check out the BetParx app for everything that's going on right now. All right. How about do some parlays like we like to do? Strikeouts, RBIs, bet individual player performances in baseball, pro hoops playoffs, NHL playoffs. Hell, you want to take a look at the odds on the series? We'll do that later on in our parlay of the day. The BetParx online sportsbook and online casino app has you covered. There's always another way to win on the BetParx app. How about live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, hot online slots? You got to check it all out. And new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com, download the app right at your fingertips. You must be 21 in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play, you play to win, you bet BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hoo-ah. All right, we're back. I got to put up my hand here. Not as in what I talked about neo-Nazi. Because when I talk with my hand sometimes, my camera that I have, if you make certain motions, then it will follow you around, which I don't want. I want it fixed. where it is right now. Because sometimes, like before the show, if I forget to take it off, I'll be like, all right, I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom if I'm here at home, and the camera will follow you. So it will, and then you see what the rest of my basement looks like, which you don't want to see right now. Tyler's seen it, and it'll actually even follow you all the way to the bathroom. So potentially I could be on the camera going to the bathroom because it's directly behind me. But anyway, yeah. So I said this on Friday, where it's like Bryce Huff wasn't at OTAs, and it was. I mean, it wasn't weird because guys miss OTAs all the time, and I mean, who knows? You hadn't seen any reports that the Eagles were unhappy that he missed the OTAs or anything like that. It was just that he wasn't there. It's like, okay, well, like maybe his sister was getting married and he was going to be around. Like he was going to miss this wave right here. But then you find out afterwards that Bryce Huff and the 49ers have a deal in place where they're finalizing a deal for a mid-round pick. And the trade can now go into effect because it's after June 1st and they can split up cap hits or whatever. But the Eagles create $2 million in cap space this year and add $5 million next year as well. I'm reading from Over the Cap. Overall, the signing of Huff from the Jets was a big miss for the Eagles. Huff was a specialist player in New York that the Eagles thought could play a bigger role. He ended up playing in just 12 games and only had 2.5 sacks while appearing in about 40% of the snaps. The final bill for the Eagles, $26 million for those 12 games, making it one of the worst free agent deals of recent times. Still, better to cut ties and to get something in return than pay $7.9 million for the same poor results. Yeah, the fact that Robert Saleh, who had him in New York, and they obviously needed help on the edge, said, yeah, for less money, sure. Bring Bryce Huff here and I can put him in a role where he can succeed. Who would have thought that your biggest free agent move of the offseason completely blows up in your face and you still have the best defense in football? And it doesn't matter. None of it matters. I remember saying last year, I was very skeptical of Huff because if you go back and you look at his game logs and you look at his sacks that he had, he really got them in bunches. And if you look at the offensive tackles that he went up against in those games, they typically weren't even average offensive tackles. So he was beaten up on probably the slow white should be a backup is starting right now for various reasons. So I was worried about Hassan Reddick leaving, Huff coming in to replace him. Who says that he's going to be as productive as Huff, as Reddick, which he wasn't. But Howie was right on Hassan Reddick. Shouldn't have given him a contract. Reddick has totally blown up everything that happened after that. Unfortunately, Huff didn't play well, and it didn't play well at all. But the fact that it didn't matter, some of that luck, absolutely. But you know what else that is? Nolan Smith developed. BG, before he got injured, was having a heck of a season. Josh Sweat had a really, really good season going into more or less a free agency. Your defensive tackles were really good, and the presence of Jalen Carter helped your defensive ends. So it ended up not hurting the Eagles. And you know what? You get a 6th-round draft pick. They said a mid-round pick. All right, like it might be a 5th that turns into a 6th. The fact that you were able to get anything for him is Howie season, for sure. For sure. So remember everything that Howie did last, and I'm reading from PHLY Daily, Rich Hoffman Jr. If you want to subscribe to allphly.com, you can get PHLY Daily. Rich puts together an unbelievable newsletter, which is really like the Philadelphia sports page, like you used to get with the Daily News. Saquon Barkley, CJ GJ, Becton, Devin White sucked, and Zach Bond was a grand slam, man. Grand slam. So not all great, but still, man, like you didn't worry about it. You didn't have to worry about it. So my question is, and let me ask Tyler Zulli about this with Bryce Huff. Do they have enough at defensive end? So I know a lot of people, I saw a lot of people on social media over the last couple of days saying like, oh, you freed up salary cap space. Now you got to go out because there are some veteran edge rushers that are still free agents. I mean, normally I'd be like, everybody's making so much money on this team. What are you talking about? No, like, kind of feel like I'd like to get one of these veteran edge rushers that are on the market.
I think they might. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you like whoever's left. And I'll be honest, I haven't looked. I have to give you a name as to who's left. But it's not going to be one of those things where it's like, whoa, how is that guy still on the market? I think it's going to be a depth signing to be your fifth or sixth guy. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that they're, in terms of depth itself, they're a little thin at the edge because Brandon Graham retires and Bryce Huff obviously no longer on the team. So you're looking at Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt. I think at some point later in the season, you're going to see some snaps at edge for Jihad Campbell once he's healthy. He'll be in a hybrid type of role, but I do think he'll get some. But after that, I mean, I think you're hoping on continued development from Nolan Smith and from Jalix Hunt specifically. And then you're going to continue to develop some young guys and guys that you've acquired, on your practice squad, guys that you've acquired deeper down in your depth chart. And then, you might end up seeing some creativity where you kick a linebacker or a defensive tackle out in like a weird, almost like reverse NASCAR package. I think they're going to get creative. But yeah, I think there's certainly room for depth over the next couple of weeks before before training camp begins.
Yeah, so you have Uche, who you signed.
Oh, and that's right. And Ojulari is probably the one to me that like I'm super excited about Ojulari, getting an opportunity to get semi-regular snaps.
Right. Yeah. Like so, Howie Roseman's done a really good job. Like if you look at corner, is Keely Ringo going to be good enough to be the starting outside corner? I don't know that. I have no confidence that's the case. But if he doesn't, now you have Adoree Jackson, who he's nothing special, but he's been a starter in this league. And if you need to put him in, you have other options that are there. You have another veteran option. What you hope is one of these guys hits. And sure. Huff gone, like whatever. Nolan Smith was great last year. So less worried about that. All right. So Kyle Pitts is on the market, apparently. The Falcons are potentially shopping Kyle Pitts because he wants a new contract. Think about it. Think about that draft. How much of a bleepity bleep draft pick that was by the Atlanta Falcons. When you look at the players that were taken, and Kyle Pitts is a local dude, and I root for Kyle Pitts. He's had some good moments. It's just when you're drafted 4th overall, Jamar Chase goes 5th. Waddle goes 6th. Penei Sewell goes 7th. J.C. Horn goes 8th. Pat Surtain goes 9th. Devontae Smith goes 10. Justin Fields, okay. Micah Parsons, 12. Rashawn Slater, who's an all-pro, 13. Has Vera Tucker been good? Elijah Vera Tucker been good?
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I mean, he's played mostly guard, so doesn't get the tackle accolades. But yeah, I think so.
All right, so Penei Sewell is a perennial Pro Bowler.
Legitimately one of the best tackles in football.
So I didn't want to say potential future Hall of Famer. Potential future Hall of Famer if he keeps playing like this.
Early trajectory, but he's playing unbelievable.
Chase is unbelievable. Jalen Waddle's he's a tier 1, number 1 wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like Waddle's been good. He's got a new contract.
Better than Kyle Pitts.
Dude, everybody's been better than Kyle Pitts here. So now they may be looking to move him because he wants big money contract just based really on potential, man. So I've seen some suggestions have been made by some of the blogs out there or some of the websites saying, what about the Eagles trade for Kyle Pitts? Absolutely, positively not. And I know that Dallas Goedert's not under contract for the rest of the season or after the season. It's just, Kyle Pitts and Goddard this year as tight ends, and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. The Eagles only throw the ball 30 times a game as it is, if that. You're going to add Kyle Pitts to the mix as a second tight end? I mean, stop with it. Stop with it. They're not getting Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts has been my ultimate I can't quit you in fantasy football every single year because it's like, well, this could be the year Kyle Pitts figures it out.
I'm with you.
It never ends up happening. Listen, the guy is unbelievably gifted, unbelievable athlete, good hands, good route runner, can line up inside, can line up in the slot, can pretty much line up wherever you want him to. He's been underutilized, obviously, in Atlanta. Well, first and foremost, who was it? Arthur Smith, basically just
didn't throw to him,
refused to use him, and now I think it's a combination of Kirk Cousins was not, I don't think Kirk Cousins was clearly not the answer. I don't know, maybe Penix being a young quarterback, would like to use him a little bit more, but it's a bad situation in Atlanta, and it just unfortunately didn't work out. And then you add in the mix of all the players that you mentioned that are, Pro Bowlers, all pros, guys that are on trajectory to be, elite for a decade plus. Jamar Chase, you talk about like Hall of Fame trajectory. Jamar Chase is in that conversation. Micah Parsons is an elite edge rusher.
No, you just said it. There's Hall of Famers that they
there's
they
legitimate Hall of Famers in this class.
So, like Atlanta, the fifth-year option. The other thing, he's making $12 million this year because that's the fifth-year option. It's not realistic. Now, after this year, if Goddard leaves and Pitts hits the free agent market and the number isn't bad, and he looks at it and says, hey, like I can Saquon Barkley it. Maybe sure. I'm not getting the money that I thought I was going to get originally, but damn, I'm on a high-profile team. It could be a 2-year cut, whatever it is. I still love the potential of the kid. Don't get me wrong, but I ain't trading a 3rd-round draft pick for him. It's just it's not going to happen this year. So everybody that wants them to make every move they can.
Look at it too this way: the Eagles were looking to get off of Dallas Goedert's $14 million this season. They were able to restructure and figure something out. They don't want to pay a tight end that much money. I don't think they just don't have the financial flexibility to do that. If I were to ask you, it's a pretty simple question. This isn't a gotcha question. Who's a better tight end, Dallas Goedert or Kyle Pitts? The answer is Dallas Goedert. So if they're not willing to pay Dallas Goedert 14, there's going to be a cap on what they'd be willing to pay Kyle Pitts and to give up a draft pick on top of it to obtain him. I think what you just laid out is if you're looking to acquire Kyle Pitts, I think a more likely scenario would be in 2026, Goddard leaves, and then you bring Pitts in on a 2-year, $20 million deal type of thing.
Agreed. All right, we're going to come back. I have 2 things. Our BetParx Parlay of the day. I know, Tyler, people are probably set reminders on their phone, be like, oh, man, I got to make sure I get this. Because we don't tweet it out. We want people to watch because, I got one listener that said they paid for a house in cash based on betting against our BetParx Parlay of the day. So that's coming up. Also, does a championship count if it's not in the 4 major sports? Or how much should it count? We'll discuss that and much more. Something on the Sixers as well. Philly with John Marks, PHLY. Why? Well, here's why. All right, let's talk about Empire today. Flooring. All right, if you need flooring, all right, listen, you have an advantage right now listening to Philly with John Marks because I'm telling you about Empire today. Flooring experts. Are you a flooring expert? Do you know anything about flooring? Or maybe if you've got new floors, you know a little bit more than before, but like flooring experts. Don't put your floor's life or your house's life into your own hands. Go to Empire today, right? The big box stores that have the aisles. You're wandering the aisles being like, hey, where's somebody wearing the vest? I need some help. I have questions. Oh, I need to now hire a contractor after I buy stuff. I don't even know if I like the flooring. Now I got to hire somebody. I got to haul it away. Empire today takes care of all of that. How about this? They come to your home. They bring the showroom to your home. So you know what your flooring is going to look like in your house with your furniture, with your lighting, with the color of your walls, and you can see it in your own space. And then they coordinate everything from you. They take proper measurements. You can see what it's going to look like. All right? And then you can get installation as soon as the next day. And you don't have to worry about, like, all right, now I got to buy this and I got to haul away and now I got to hire a contractor. One visit to empiretoday.com/PHLY takes care of all that for you. Takes care of all of it. They coordinate everything. All right, so get on there right now. And you also get $350 off using the promo code PHLY. So schedule the free in-home estimate today at empiretoday.com/PHLY. Full details. Restrictions do apply on that $350 discount, but get it right now. empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. Hoo-ah. All right, Rothman Ortho. Let's talk about it. All right? Nagging pain. This was me. This is me. Because if I broke my leg, I'm going to Rothman. If I'm like, man, like I feel like I tore a ligament in my knee, I'm going to Rothman. What about the nagging pain? What about the 6 out of 10 that gets worse, not better? And it's been 6 months. It's been 3 months. It's been a year. For me, it was a year. And when it got to the point of, I'm not haven't been gifted with great height. I'm listed at 5'10", but to get the cereal out of my pantry, I had to get the tongs, and I had to reach up, and that's how I get the cereal. That's how my range of motion in my shoulder was so bad, and it hurt. I couldn't exercise anymore. I couldn't do anything. If this is you, and you're a golfer, you're a weekend warrior, you like to run, you like to be active, basketball, and nagging pain is keeping you from doing that, I'm telling you. Rothman Ortho. Their focus on high-quality, compassionate care will have you feeling better and back to what you love to do. So if the pain's slowing you down, get to Rothman. Rothman Orthopedics, your mobility is their mission. And you're probably not that far away from Rothman. They proudly serve dozens of communities across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Florida. If you're in Florida, 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. I went up to the Rothman in Limerick. I did my PT there. So urgent care, I've been to the urgent care a couple times up there. My mom's been up to the urgent care up there. The full spectrum of orthopedic care, Rothman Orthopedics. This is from diagnosis to discharge. They're with you every step of the way. X-rays, bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, fracture care, oncology, and more. Hip, knee, shoulder, ankle replacements, everything. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY. rothmanortho.com/PHLY. All right, we're back. Philly with John Marks. And remember, if you're just tuning in, the Diehard Summer Sale that's going on right now. Oh man, you got to check this out. $36 for the first year. It's unbelievable. It's a great deal. And trust me, like I was just on there this morning from Zach and Bo, their coverage with the Bryce Huff stuff and Eagles things. Jim Salisbury, Bob Cooney, Pat Egan, Tyler Zooey, our Phillies coverage, Broad Street Hockey, the Sixers stuff with Kyle, Derek, and Devon. It is unbelievable. You get all of that and more, free t-shirt, real incentives, allphly.com/intro. And it takes you right to the page there, and boom, you can sign up. All right, we're back. Philly with John Marks. All right, so let's get to the BetParx Parlay of the day, and then I got something else here. It's time for our BetParx Parlay of the day. You can hear my voice cracking. So, like, Tyler, you've known me intimately since last September. You would think that I've been sick my whole life based on my wellness over the last however many months.
I have never seen someone as frequently sick as you are that is not like genuinely sick. You know what I mean? Like you are often, you come in, you go up, just congestion again. And I'm like, how does this happen?
Sore throat. I could at any point right now just suck up a big mouthful of mucus and spit it out. As somebody used to do it that shared a studio with me at WIP, and then she would spit it into a cup and then leave the cup.
That's disgusting.
And one time there was because there was a cup of water, it was spit into the cup of water. So I come into the studio at the beginning of my show, and I have a cup of water, and I have my headphones and all the other stuff, and I put the cup of water down on the left. But at some point I reached for a cup on the right, and I go to put it up to my mouth. I feel the cup is not cold, that it's warm. And when I say a cup, it's a paper cup. So I can feel it, and I look down, and I see a half of a cup of water, and just like loogies, like a quarter cup of loogies in water. And I'm like, whoa! And I put it down.
As someone who pretty much gets vomited on every day by a 7-month-old, I would rather be thrown up on by a baby every day for the rest of my life than have that situation.
Yep. The only thing that I would think could be worse is drinking a dip cup. It's in a beer can. You don't realize you think it's your beer.
That literally would. I mean, that would send me to want to vomit. That's disgusting.
And not as many people smoke cigarettes today, but back when I was in like college age, where I would be in some room in a frat house and people would just put their cigarettes out and when you're at a frat party, there's probably 50 beer cans that are floaters.
Oh yeah.
So people just put the cigarettes out in the floaters, and you go up and you feel the cigarette butt shaking in the floater as you're drinking it.
Yep. It's like What is it? Guinness that has used to have the little rocket at the bottom.
Yes.
But this is like Natty Light's version.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, exactly right. A Natty Light, some type of
cigarette at the bottom.
Oh my man, so many times that happened. I've never drank a dip can though. Because normally they're empty, sure. And you know when you pick it up that you're not getting a. Yeah. But anyway, that was pretty gross. All right, well, that is not our BetParx parlay of the day, but it might as well be. I don't even know what happened on Friday. I think what even happened on Friday?
No, I took no runs first innings in the Tigers and Royals game, and the Tigers scored in the first. So,
but at least it wasn't 18-0 after one. So it was
not. No, it was definitely not that bad.
All right, what do we got today? No Phillies tonight.
So I'm gonna go off of a this guy's due type of pick, a vibes check type of pick, because Kyle Stowers from the Marlins actually had a really good start to the year, but he's just won for his last 24 after that torrid start. I think he had hit in 11 straight and only has one hit in his last 5 or 6 games at this point. I am going to take Kyle Stowers against German Marquez, who actually has been kind of decent his last 2 starts, including the one against the Phillies. I'm going to take Stowers against Marquez today to record a hit. So over half a hit in the Marlins and the Rockies game. It's minus 230. It's not great odds. German Marquez has given up a lot of hits this season. I think he's given up 30-something base runners this month. But we need to get back on the winning track. So I'm going to take Kyle Stowers over a half a hit at minus 230.
Oh, I got something for you today. I'm going Jessica Pegula. This already happened? Oh, no. Is it playing right? I don't know if it's in right now. Oh, so this would be live betting. Never mind, I'm out. I was gonna do French Open tennis, just because I'm so desperate for anything else.
Yeah. So Jessica Pegula currently is they're in the 3rd set. She won the first set 6-3, lost the second set 6-4.
She's minus 230.
She's down the 3rd set 2-1. Okay,
I'm going minus 230. She's coming back. The Bills owner, by the way, that's her daughter.
Oh, is it actually?
It is, yeah.
Obviously, the last name is not a common one, but I did not know that they were actually related.
Yep, it's her daughter. Yep, pretty crazy.
Also, the namesake of the hockey arena at Penn State.
Is it really? That's Penn State?
Yeah, Pegula Arena. Yep, it's a beautiful college hockey arena.
I've seen this said a lot recently, but if you're looking at strictly football, Penn State's a very good football program. If you're looking at everything other than basketball, Penn State, like everything with Penn State athletics, it seems like.
It's been a really good year.
Holy crap, man. Yeah. You're not kidding.
Yeah,
they're wrestling. They're perennials in wrestling, obviously.
Wrestling, obviously. I think wrestling is probably the most dominant powerhouse in maybe all of college sports, but volleyball has been good. Hockey went to the Frozen Four. Football went to the college football semifinals. It's been a pretty good year for Penn State sports, all in all.
All right, let's look at the series, which starts. When does it start? The hell is it? It's not tonight, is it? No, you have to wait till Thursday for the first game. Jesus God! All right, so let's look at the series. You have oh man, it's going to be going. You have the Pacers. You have OKC. Now, this might not be like you'll see this a lot, where you'll see NBA haters on social media saying, oh, well, this is going to be one of the lowest rated series in a really, really long time. Yeah, that might be true. But I'm actually looking forward to this because I like the style of basketball that Indiana and OKC plays. I do. And it's nice to have some of the teams that we're not used to seeing. I know I was a Philadelphia 76er for New York Knicks fan, and they went down. But the Pacers are they're a good team. They really, really are. So overwhelming Tyler Zulli on the series, overwhelming favorites. OKC. How about this money line for the series? Minus 715. Wow. So you would have to bet $715 to win 100. Now Indiana's plus 500. So for a $100 bet, you would win $500. If you were forced to do one of the two, what would you do?
If I were forced to do one of the two, I think I would probably just try to take the upside and play the Pacers. Now, I think the Thunder are going to win the series. And quite frankly, I don't think it's going to be a very long series either. I think this is going to be I don't even know if I think it might be 5. I think the Thunder are just going to roll them at this point, because the thing with the Pacers is the Pacers like to get out and run you, right? They like to get you out in space. They like to be in transition. They have a good young group. And then, of course, like Halliburton and Siakam have been really, really good for most of the postseason. But if the Pacers want to get out and run you, there's no team in the NBA who's got the same depth, at least, in the latter stages of the postseason, that the Thunder do. The Thunder have the opportunity to match that pace, and they use 8 or 9 guys that they're comfortable using. I just think that this is not a series in which the Pacers are going to win a game because Tyrese Halliburton's going to go nuclear. Like, he's going to score 40 something, right? And they're going to win a game, and that'll be that. Can they win 2 or 3? I don't know if they can. I think the Thunder. If I were to be a betting man and I would do an exacta, I would take the Thunder in 5.
Yeah, if I was the NBA, I would put Scott Foster in the first 2 games of the series to make sure that the Pacers get one of those games. Sweeps rarely happen, and I'm not going to tell you these games are fixed, but when Scott Foster comes in a game and it's like, oh, the series extender is reffing, and then it happens the way that it's supposed to,
right?
I don't think that's by accident. Yeah, so listen, the SGA minus 560 for the MVP, Halliburton plus 650. So here's what you do. Maybe sprinkle, if you're like, you know what? I saw somebody, remember the year the Celtics won? Remember the Garnett title where
Anything's
the Celtics
possible.
won?
Yep.
Yeah, no one thought, I mean, the Lakers were huge favorites in that series, but I mean, like, Boston was just built different, and they were playing or was that Detroit? I'm thinking about Detroit. I think did the same thing.
03 was, if I remember correctly, was massive underdogs.
And so I'm actually thinking of Detroit because I remember that was a Larry Brown team. I remember they would hold teams under 70 points, and that was a veteran team. Sheed. I was always a big Chauncey Billups fan, Tayshaun Prince, and they just they were grimy, and defensively they were unbelievable. So if you believe the Pacers, go with a Halliburton, because if they win the series, Halliburton's going to be your MVP. So if you sprinkle, put $25 on the Pacers to win and Halliburton on a parlay, let's try it. Let's see what we get.
Well, so I'm thinking about that 03 team, that Detroit team. Was that the year that Larry Brown basically said to Sheed, and then Ben Wallace to a lesser extent.
Ben Wallace.
Wallace was, a great defender, wasn't much of an offensive presence. Basically had them step way out and say, hey, make Shaq come to you and force Shaq out of the paint, and then you can crash the boards a little bit better. Yeah,
because back then they didn't do that, right? Like I remember having the conversation of, well, just put Nerlens Noel and Okafor and Embiid on the floor at the same time. In modern basketball, you can't do that for a minute because they'll change their lineup, right? And now you look at the center position, and no one really plays with their back to the basket anymore. But yeah, that was a smart move by Larry Brown. Ended up working out. By the way, for a $100 bet, if you did the Pacers and Halliburton, $4,400.
For a $100 bet, you can lose $100.
Right. For $25 though, if you divide that, that's $1,100. So $25, $1,100. That's not bad. That's not bad, man.
If it's within your monetary means, it's not a bad sprinkle, right? It's not a bad to take a chance on something, because if it hits, then you're going to go, whoa, I just made a boatload of money. And if you lose $25. As long as it's within your monetary means, go ahead and do it. I just think that this feels like a mismatch to me.
I don't disagree. All right, so here's the last thing. I saw somebody over the, I'm spending more time on social media because I don't know, I just am. But so I saw somebody tweet out, New York it was actually a Boston sports account. New York hasn't won a major sports championship since 2011, which would have been the Giants. And, that's 14 years. That's really not that long. In Philadelphia terms, we've certainly done a lot longer than that. But so New York hasn't won a major sports championship since 2011. And a WNBA writer retweets it and says, the New York Liberty won the WNBA championship last year.
Yes.
And then I was like, well, hang on a second. The Red Bulls of MLS won a championship a couple years ago. I remember, and then it was 2021. They won the championship in the MLS, whatever that's called.
NYCFC did too, didn't they?
I don't even know, but okay, there you go. So here's the question: Can you say, if you say New York hasn't won a major sports championship 2011, doesn't everybody agree? Every sports fan that the spirit of what we're saying is the four majors, is the 4-4. Correct?
Yeah, I think that's probably the thought on most of those types of conversations, as you're talking about MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL. I think that's because yes, right? Like the extension would be the MLS, the extension would be your WNBA team. I think anytime you have a professional sports team, it counts. It doesn't count. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the parade for the Eagles would be the same for a parade for the Union. It just wouldn't be. But I think that, if you're talking about like hasn't won a major title, I think more times than not you are considering the four major sports teams.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the way that I feel, and that's my knee-jerk reaction. So I looked to see what the attendance was for the New York Liberty last season in 2024. What do you think the average attendance was for the New York Liberty? I was blown away by the answer here, by the way.
Blown away you underestimated or overestimated?
I underestimated it.
I would say probably 10?
12,000, over 12,000, which is like you're saying like, all right, 12,730. And it's like, so that isn't minor league attendance. You know what I mean? Like if you're getting 3,000 a game, like, all right, like what are you talking about here? So, I mean, if Philadelphia is going to get a team, I mean, who knows? I think the average sports fan can say they haven't won a major championship without getting somebody saying like, oh, the New York Liberty won. Like, all right, New York Liberty won. They did have a parade, by the way. I also checked on that. They have a parade. They
absolutely should. It's a championship team. I think what you're saying here is not. It's not. I don't think you're trying to disparage any of the other teams. I think what you're saying is when the average sports fan considers what a championship drought is, I think more times than not they think about the four major sports.
There's nobody taking comfort that if the Union won a cup, and by the way, the Union haven't lost in 11 games.
Really good this year.
Yeah, and there's nothing being talked about. Like, yeah, the average fan needs to go to a specialty. It's a lot like the Flyers. For Flyers fans, if the Flyers are really good, we would obviously talk about them more. When they're not making the playoffs, they're not going to get much play. The Union are really good this year, but outside of doing an interview, if I'm doing radio, all right, and this is how it works in radio, I can't just do an interview like, oh, well, the Union deserve an interview. All right, like, and then I go look at the ratings and everybody tuned out for it. And now that tanked my day and I lost to my competitor because I did a Union. Like, you can't do it. So if you have fun with it and they're good, if you do a good interview, okay. But it's tough. It's tough to include the other sports in the four majors. Well, because not enough people care about it. I mean, like, and I care about the Union. I want the Union to do well. And I think the MLS is a legitimate professional sport. It is. And the WNBA is too, but it's hard to include it in the four.
Well, I think with the Union specifically, obviously Philly doesn't have a WNBA team, so I don't have a basis to put on this. But I think with the Union specifically, this happened to me. It took me to get down to a game to understand the scope of what the Union can be for Philly. I think in terms of soccer, I like soccer. I play FIFA, but like when I think of soccer, obviously I'm thinking about, the Premier League, La Liga,
European soccer,
French leagues, right? Like, so MLS to me is the only league in men's sports in America that is not the Premier League, right? Because the NFL is the Premier League, Major League Baseball is the Premier League, all of those, right? So with the MLS, it's probably a fair thing to say that the MLS is like, I don't know, the 8th or 9th or 10th best league in the world, which is not a bad place to be considering it's only 30 years old and, you're trying to go up against footing about the European great league. So it's not a terrible place to be and it's getting better. But I think for a lot of people, like myself included, it really flipped the switch when I got down to Subaru Park and was able to like see the team in person because it's a fun atmosphere and it's a fun game. And then even if you're not a huge soccer fan, the atmosphere pulls you in and you can enjoy it as a Philadelphia fan.
All right, we are officially, if you're watching on TV, we're in overtime. Get all over. Ever been to a game? It is not a minor league atmosphere. It is not a minor league stadium. It is not a minor league experience. It is amazing. I mean, like, go to a Union game. If you've never been to a Union game, go to a Union game. The tailgating's great before. The parking lot's awesome. The stadium's awesome. The views of the Burlington Bristol Bridge is Commodore Barry Bridge is amazing. Like it is. And you know what sucks though, Tyler? Having young kids, the times of the games are awful.
Sure,
for
Saturday
trying to
nights are hard to get to.
Yeah, I would love an afternoon game so I could take them, but yeah, the times are awesome. But I got to get down this year to them because they're really, really fun games. Live Philly show today, Tyler. What do you got?
Yes. Yep. I mean, this weekend sucked. It is what it is. I will say, I think there was one game, little teaser. There was one of the 3 games that was the most annoying, and I think it's pretty obvious which one annoys me the most out of the 3. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about, you brought up Seth Johnson moving. We'll talk about Andrew Painter's, timeline a little bit because they keep saying July-ish, which is interesting. Mick Abel back to the rotation. We got a lot to talk about today. Bob Cooney at 1:30.
Oh, live at 1:00. Bob Cooney joins Tyler at 1:30. Should be excellent. Thanks to everybody. We're back tomorrow. Anthony's live right now. We're back tomorrow. And by the way, Tyler, we're not in studio tomorrow according to the schedule. It says that we're doing home again.
We are never ever going to get out from these allegations that we don't work anymore.
This isn't us.
Not us.
There's a lot going on at the studio right now, and I'm perfectly fine as I have my backdrop set up now, and it looks more professional. So we're good. Shout out to everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're back tomorrow live at 8 a.m. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.